Cheating in chess. It's not unusual, but it's rare that it happens at such an important event. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a tournament going on called PogChamps, where a bunch of celebrities play and the total prize is $100,000. So it's not just some local tournament where a prize would be a six-pack of beer and a firm handshake, right? So it is a huge thing. Now let me explain to you why it's so obvious that DrLupo cheated using an engine and not just listening to the commentary of the gameplay. And in this video, we're only gonna focus on the chess moves, so not his gameplay, because you can see when he was playing the game, he's constantly looking at the side and like touching his face, being all nervous, right? Because obviously he was looking at the engine. But we're just gonna focus on the chess moves in this video. First of all, let me explain to you what being rated 600 in Rapid on chess.com even means. So chess.com is the most popular chess website, and Rapid is a chess time control, which means that each player has 10 or more minutes to think about their moves. And DrLupo is rated 618 in Rapid, which means that he's in top 9.8 million players. Or in other words, he's better than half the players on the site. By the way, this includes players that have been active in the last 90 days. So players who have played one game and then haven't played for years are not included in this. DrLupo's opponent, the one he cheated against, is rated 1300, which means he's in top 7%. So there is a huge difference between being rated 600 and 1300. Now the last rating we're gonna look at is what it means to be rated 2000. If you're rated 2000, it means you're in top 0.3% of players. So this is just to give you perspective on what chess rating means. Now let's talk about chess accuracy. So the highest accuracy that you can get in a chess game is 100%, which means you played like an engine. So you played all the moves that an engine would play. A high accuracy doesn't necessarily mean that you're also a good chess player, because it depends on who you're playing against. Let me show you some examples. A game between two beginners can go something like this. So both sides move the pawns, then white brings the queen out, black strikes at the center, white takes and blunders the queen. So this is an example of a top engine move. So this is the best move on the board, right? And it's pretty easy to see, like just the queen is free, you just take it, right? Now let me show you an example of where a top engine move is not so obvious. Okay, so something like this. Now here I was trying to make knight e5 the top engine move. It's not, but it's still a pretty good move. So let's say knight takes here. Now this seems like a blunder, right? Because you're just giving up the knight for free. But the point is that now you pin the bishop to the king, so the bishop cannot move. The only way to defend the bishop is to move the queen, but now you can go something like f4, attacking the bishop. Now, if the bishop moves, you win the queen. But let's say the bishop delivers a check, and now you move over here, so you're still defending the rook. So the rook is still attacking the queen, and the queen cannot move away because it's pinned to the king, right? So it is a complicated position. So this would be an example, this move, of a not so obvious top engine move. Now it's time to look at some games. So if we go back to DrLupo's profile, first I'm gonna show you this game. So he lost to Sapnap, who played with almost 95% accuracy, right? So here you're gonna see an example of a high accuracy game, but the moves were pretty obvious. So the opening doesn't matter. Here, this is where I'm gonna stop. So you can see the knight is defended by the queen. DrLupo moves the bishop. Now the knight is not defended anymore, so Sapnap just takes it, right? Easy move. Okay, moves the queen. He develops the knight. Here also, this is the top engine move, but it's pretty obvious. I mean, you're just attacking the queen, right? Nothing crazy. DrLupo moves the queen to f4. Now we see d3, discovered attack on the queen. And he just doesn't see it, right? He moves the bishop, and Sapnap obviously takes the queen. Top engine move, but pretty obvious move. Now he takes the bishop, because you're told when you're up material, you should trade pieces. So he takes the bishop, takes the pawn, which also traps the rook, right? And then the game concludes shortly. He just cleans everything up, and that's it, checkmate. So this was an example of a normal game played between two players who haven't cheated and are rated 400 and 700. Now let's look at the game where DrLupo cheated. So he cheated in one game before this one that I'm about to show you, but maybe you can argue it's not so obvious, maybe he got lucky on some moves, right? But in this one, it's really obvious. So the game starts with a Ponziani opening, doesn't matter. We see this move, which is not the most accurate move. Now the point is, knight is attacking the pawn, bishop defense. This is all normal, right? Like a 600 rated player could definitely see this. Now Wolfie over here delivers a check, knight blocks. This is also a totally normal move, nothing crazy. Now we see d6, castles, bishop g4, pinning the knight to the queen. And now this is the first moment where it is already really suspicious, right? So every beginner here would see at this pin and would say, okay, the knight, I cannot move the knight, which means that this pawn is not defended, right? So knight takes is a threat, because if you, let's say, do a random move, knight can take. If you take it, you lose your queen, right? So they would play something like h3, trying to induce taking, which is, by the way, not a good move, because still knight takes. But this is how beginners would play. Or maybe this move, right? Moves the bishop back, so now takes, the queen is defending, right? He finds, so DrLupo finds the best move, which is knight to d5. This move is crazy, okay? A 1000 rated player, so higher than DrLupo, wouldn't play this, ever, okay? A 2000 rated player also wouldn't play this unless they know that this is a theoretical move, because they've seen it somewhere in a similar opening, because there is actually, let me just show you real quick. So if you play this opening, d6, takes, check, you can see the same ideas, right? Knight blocks. Now let's say bishop pins the knight, castles, knight here. And now you can see the engine knight d5 is the top move. So what's the difference between this position and the one in the game? Well, just the bishop in the game was on d3, right? That's the only difference. So if you know this opening, then maybe you can play knight d5, right? Because you've studied this. But obviously DrLupo hasn't studied this position, right? So now let's go back to the game. You can see the same position, just the bishop is on d3. So this move, like, totally above his level. Because what knight to d5 does is it ignores this threat, okay? It ignores that this pawn can be captured, because you know that there is queen a4 check, attacking the king, attacking the bishop. But now black can go back, defending the bishop, but now you can take the bishop, right? Because your knight is here. And if black takes the knight, which is what happened in the game, white recaptures, now this knight has to move. So in the game we saw this move, but let's say just knight goes back. Now again queen a4, right, picking off the bishop. And the best engine move is something like bishop a5, just moving away the bishop, which obviously a 1300 rated player is not gonna see, right? So in the game we get takes, knight takes pawn, and now obviously still queen a4 here, picking off the bishop, because now if the knight goes back, you can just take the knight with the pawn, right? And if you're scared about this one, so let's say if black takes here, even in this position, you just take with a pawn, right? Because this pawn structure doesn't really matter when you're winning a whole piece, right? So if you go back to the game, DrLupo played knight to d4. So probably he confused something, or he didn't want to play all of the best engine moves, because then the accuracy would be 100%, which would be pretty obvious that he's cheating, right? So anyways, he blunders the queen, okay? Now, instead of taking the bishop, which probably all the players would do, like even a 2000 rated player would take the bishop, he first delivers a check. But okay, let's argue that this is he just saw that there is a check and he was frustrated, so he played a check, okay? Let's argue this. Obviously, point is, if pawn blocks, you first take, you cannot save the bishop, because now I can probably, yeah, c7. So, attacking the king, attacking the queen. If queen blocks, you still win the queen, right? This is the point. So obviously moving the king is the best move. Now he recaptures the bishop. So, okay, let's say he just got lucky here, right? Now we see bishop c5. And this is the move. b4 is the move that's, like, to me, if I was playing against a 2000 rated player, so the 0.3% of player, and he played b3 against me, I would instantly report him for cheating, okay? Because this move doesn't make any sense. So black is, first of all, not threatening the knight, because it's just gonna be a trade, okay? So bishop takes, rook takes. When you play b4, it doesn't prevent the bishop from trading the knight, because he can still take, right? It just gives up a free pawn for no reason. Probably the reason is something like, you can see rook b1, I guess, and then when the bishop moves back, like, you just gave up a pawn, but probably the point is something like, I don't know, bishop, okay, bishop a4, one of the top engine moves, and now you can maybe pressure the pawns over here because you have the open line, right? Like, that's the only explanation I can give you for this move. But it's still, like, even a grandmaster, the best of the best players in chess, wouldn't play b4, okay? This is how crazy obvious it is that he used an engine to get this move. Because, like, it doesn't make any sense, okay? It doesn't make any sense. So b4, obviously, black takes the pawn, and then rook d3, okay? So not moving the bishop out, not moving this rook, attacking the bishop, just rook d3. Okay, so why didn't you play rook d3 here if that was an idea? If that was your idea, right? Why did you play b4 and then first rook d3? I mean, yeah, just crazy. We see rook d3. Point is, you want to swing the rook over here. Now a6, attacking the bishop, bishop moves back, b5, bishop moves, like, this is, okay, top engine move, but I mean, okay, sorry, let me just go back. So we were here. So you have two choices, basically, bishop b3 or bishop c2. You don't really want to go back to d1. So this is not a crazy engine move, right? Now we see queen to e7, threatening checkmate. So let's say just a random move. This is checkmate. Now rook to e3, also not so crazy, just preventing the checkmate. Queen to f6, attacking the knight. Bishop b2 attack, defending the knight. Now we see queen to g5, because there was a threat. The threat was, let's say, just a random move again. Threat was knight to e6, check. Now we have two choices. Either you move the king and lose the queen, or you take the knight. If you take it to the pawn, you lose the queen, and if you take it to the queen, you lose the queen. Okay, so this is why this move is so good. So that's why Wolfie moves the queen to g5, attacking this pawn. Now another top engine move. Okay, now this move, I don't know, like maybe a 2000 rated player would see something like this, because the point is you're preparing something over here, right? And gives up, because usually 600 rated players over here would play bishop to b3 defending this pawn. But no, just gives up a pawn for free, plays bishop to b3 now, so that the line is open, right? And now this move, knight c2. So now you see this idea, right? Knight to c2. So making contact with the bishop, but also attacking this pawn. So black has to defend this pawn, because otherwise, let's say random move, you take with the bishop over here, attacking the king, attacking the rook. So Wolfie plays f6, pawn f6. Now the point is that the queen is the only defender of the bishop, so DrLupo plays rook e3, top engine move. Now again, we could argue that this move is obvious, but it's not obvious for a 600 rated player, right? But okay, let's say this move, okay, maybe he got lucky again, right? Okay. Now here black blunders. The best moves was, yeah, queen h4, but still, but you still lose the bishop, because g3 attacking the queen, queen moves, still defending the bishop. Now you go h3 attacking the queen, and the queen cannot maintain, okay, or bishop e6, doesn't matter, but h3 also works. Queen cannot maintain the defense of the bishop, right? If queen takes, you take. So in the game, queen to g6. Now you take the bishop. This move, intending to trade rooks. Every player below 1000 is gonna trade. Okay? But no, DrLupo plays the top engine move. You can see the top engine move. Game review probably wants this move. Yeah, rook f3. But rook g3 is, you can see that it's the top engine move. Rook g3, attacking the queen. Okay, now queen goes to e4, a really nice move. Threatening checkmate and also attacking the knight. So random move, you go check, rook takes, mate. Okay. And also the knight is hanging. So how do you defend both? Well, to me, obvious move is, let's say, knight c2. Okay. So protecting the square and also moving the knight away. But no, our master over here finds bishop c3, top engine move. Now, why is bishop c3, in my opinion, harder to see than knight to c2? Well, because now a5 comes, and there are a lot of complications here. Obviously, first of all, bishop c3 defends the knight and also protects this square, right? And he's also like looking at the side and then just looks back at the board and it's like, oh yeah, bishop c3 should work, right? Like how do you see this? It's not like a 600 rated player has a board in their head, in their mind, right? And is calculating all the possible variations. So he finds bishop c3, top engine move. Now we see a5, excellent move, even though it says, engine says it's an inaccuracy. Now, here only, like the only move you can see that is equal is knight to d5. So the only move that keeps the game in equal territory is knight d5. But there are a lot of moves here. Like, how do you decide instantly that knight d5 is the best move? Now, why is knight d5 such a crazy move? Well, because a4 comes, right? And bishop is defending the knight, but now the bishop is attacked and has to move away. So you're just gonna lose the knight, right? But no, he calculated, engined it, right? But he calculated that he can take over here, attacking the rook while his bishop is hanging, and usually giving up. So white here gets the rook, so let me just put it on the board. Black takes a bishop, white takes the rook, but black recaptures the knight. So, and then white captures the pawn. So it's equal, but black over here got 2 pieces for 1 piece, which is usually better for black, right? But in this situation, apparently it works, okay? And like, again, this is not obvious. This is not something like you're looking at, I don't know, through the window and then you're like, oh, knight c7 works, right? Like, you can't, and even if it's luck, you can't get lucky so many times, okay? So a4, excellent move. Knight takes, and now obviously because Wolf is human, he just attacks the knight and doesn't see that there is a crazy bishop to d5 move that saves the game, right? So obviously point here is your knight is attacked, and any 600 rated player here would play probably knight takes pawn and just give up the bishop for a pawn. But no, he plays the top engine move bishop d5. Now this move is not so crazy, like a 2000 rated player would see this, but still, like, he's 600, right? He shouldn't be spotting moves like this. And also, if you look at all of the moves before this one was played, you can see that he definitely cheated. Bishop d5. Now Wolfie blunders the queen, but even, let's say, queen to f5, now he can save his knight, right? But black blunders the queen, and now not taking the queen, which, if you saw bishop d5 and all of these crazy moves, you would instantly see that the queen is hanging. But no, he first plays knight to e6 check. Now the point is, it's a check, so king has to move, or you can take the knight, but then you still lose the queen because the bishop is defending, right? King moves, and now again not taking the queen, which is an obvious and safe move, because you're up, you get the queen back, and you're up 2 pieces. But no, he goes ahead and takes on g7 with check, so king has to move again. Now he takes the queen, and then obviously black recaptures, and now you can see again top engine move bishop f3, bishop f3, and he makes it like it's just an accident, right? Like, like move the bishop back. And you know why this move is so crazy? Because this is actually checkmate, right? You can see the knight is defending these 2 squares and then the rook. So everything is covered. So if the bishop comes here, this is checkmate, right? So just casually bishop f3 top engine move. Black plays rook to f8. Now we get a check. Rook blocks. And now again, any 600 rated player, or even maybe a 1000 rated player, would play bishop takes because it's a check. But this is not the best move because now the king can go up, right? So he plays the top engine move rook takes, because the point is now you're gonna have an unstoppable discover check. Now black, obviously you can see it's already forced mate. The best move is the best try to prolong the game is give up the rook, so you play one more move and then it's over, right? But in the game we get rook to d8 and then white captures the pawn, and this is checkmate. So hopefully now you can see that it's really obvious that he cheated. Like just this move alone, b5, not b5, b4, just this move alone, like that's enough for me, right? And the fact, if you add all of those moves that he found after b4, like there is no doubt that he used an engine and not just listen to the commentators, because the commentators didn't even mention b4. And then also that you see all of those tactics. So after queen e4, you see, so first you see knight c2, then you see this is all fine, and then you see bishop c3, and then you see knight d5, and then you see knight takes c7. Like those moves, just too much, right? Again, a 2000 rated player, first of all, wouldn't see b4, the pawn sacrifice. They would probably play knight c2 here, and also knight d5 with knight takes c7. Maybe they could see that, but it's crazy, okay? And then here, like, you take this queen every time. There is no way you play knight e6 first, right? So yeah, pretty obvious cheating. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you next time.